Welcome in, everybody, all you YouTubers out there. Let's jump in and try to do as quick as possible slate breakdown / hyper simple building method for DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports. We've got golf going. We've got WNBA coming in. NBA finals are wrapping up, and of course, MLB is going every single day. So you jump down to the comment section, you click the link, and you use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, trigger that 20% off discount. Get in here where we can talk a little bit more one-on-one. We can talk about your game. We can assess situations, and we can also evaluate your process. I'm going to run through my process, but really quickly, let me at least show you kind of what I'm talking about when I'm tracking percentages. I'm looking at, like I said before, if I play in a 100-man 50-50 and I place 32nd, then that's a 32nd percent lineup. That means that I should do okay in triple-ups and 10-man leagues and 50-50s. It means it didn't make the cash line in a GPP because generally speaking, the percentage of your finishing spot across the industry is going to pan out over a lot of different contests, bearing a little bit of luck here and there. So I'm trying to find where my contests are most successful, and I know there's apps and there's trackers and things for it, but this is just the easiest way for me. I look at this, and a lot of people will get frustrated with the 70s and the 90s and the whatever, but when you look at these numbers, 21 contests tracked, 16 of them are in the top 50. That's pretty good. If you're entering these in 50-50s and double-ups, you should be okay. Unsustainable, but it's a 76% clip right now. 20 contests is still a small sample size. 8 in the top 30, 6 in the top 20, only one in the top 1%, only one in the top 10%. That means that out of 21 contests, I only won a 10-man league one time, most likely. And it might have gotten unlucky that night. It did win a 100-man, league on Fanduel, so it was fine. It would hit quintuple ups. The 6 in the top 20 is probably going to hit your quintuple ups or get very, very close. And so this is how we're going to layer these contests. We're thinking of 50-50s, triple ups, quintuple ups, maybe 10-man leagues, maybe 20-man leagues if you like those, 100-man leagues, maybe some GPPs. But the trick to the GPP is you've got to get way inside the top 1% for it to matter. Otherwise, you're pretty much min cashing maybe 3 times, 4 times, maybe even 7 times your buy-in. And that's okay, but you're not doing it often enough to really unlock the big bucks. To unlock the big bucks, you got to get inside the top 1%. That's why I like the 100-man leagues, because the top 1% is usually very, very close, if not winning outright, those 100-man leagues for 25 times your buy-in. It's hard to replace. It's a frequently winnable contest, and it is paying a lot more than just chasing GPPs alone. So I like to layer my contests like this. Now, let's say I wanted to put, $20 in there today on a lineup. I would put the lineup in 50-50s, in triple ups, in quintuple ups, in 100-man leagues. And then, let's say I filled up like $18, of my 20. And I've got this all layered out really, really well. Then guess what? That's when I might take that final $2 and pitch it in a big GPP just in case. But if I do that, I'm building to win the GPP. I'm building to win the 100-man contest. I'm not winning. I'm not building my lineups to play ultra super safe and just barely win in a 50-50 contest because I'm afraid to make a mistake and I'm being told cash lineups are supposed to be safe. That is old news. Get that out of your head. You need upside. Today's competition is not stupid. You need upside to get past those guys and actually win. And so if you're building for upside and taking the risk to get past just the 50-50 curve these days, you need to be layering in these other contests for your really, really good nights. That's what I teach inside DFSArmy.com. That's how I can help you become a better player through contest selection and bankroll management alone. If you need that kind of help, you click the link, you come inside, you use coupon code CHOP, you hit me up in my room and say, hey, help me. And I will dig in and I will help you out. That said, we're going to go through the pitching stuff today very, very quickly. You know me. I go to the pitching tab here. I scroll over to Chop Shop K-Score and I sort that down. I start writing these names down. I go over in here to the Vegas odds and I write these down next to their names. And I come back over here I don't pay attention to the DFSA grade much anymore, but you certainly could. I just have my own way of doing it, and you'll see how it expands. You write down the pricing in there too. I'm zigging back and forth because this isn't organized the way I would do it if it was my sheet, but it's not my sheet, so I just have to do what I do. I'm including bullpen rank too because as bullpens get to be more and more of a factor in today's game. They do factor into the offenses that you want. We'll come flip this on its head in just a second, but let's dive into the pitching really quick, and let's show you the sheet. The sheet's very simple. Pitcher on the left, salary on Fanduel. If you play DraftKings, sorry, it's a little bit different method of picking pitchers, but you can certainly do it. These guys are still going to be good there. They could be your SP1. Vegas odds are strong, and you want the best odds in your favor possible. K score is strikeout upside. W score is kind of a hitting potential for the other team. You know, how often does this pitcher really get hit? Like, what kind of WOBA does he allow against, and what kind of WOBA does the other team put on there? Add them together, and you get a sliding scale that allows you to kind of look at how these teams, you know, the matchup, the overall strength of the offense in the matchup. How dangerous is the team coming into your pitcher? K score is high for pitchers, low W score for your pitchers. If you were doing it for batters, you'd just reverse it. You'd want a low K score pitcher and you'd want a high W score. So, but what are the numbers? 500 and over for K score is what I look for. I don't really look for anything in W score yet. I'm just sort of starting to employ this. I talk all the time about don't make dramatic changes. For weeks and weeks and weeks, I haven't looked at W score. I'm finally starting to look at it. For weeks and weeks and weeks, I haven't looked at bullpen rating. I'm finally starting to look at it. But I'm adding it in very, very slowly. I'm still looking at my main numbers first, and then I'm looking at these others to kind of see if they don't help me make a decision. If that makes sense. I'm not going exclusively by bullpen rating and just all of a sudden saying Vegas odds don't matter anymore. We're only looking at, but no. We don't do that. We're incorporating it in slowly with other things we're looking at. And if you look at these green guys, the green guys are the guys I'm probably targeting. The shade of green will tell you a bright green guy is somebody I really, really like. Today there isn't one. Today there are a lot of decent options, and then there's a little bit lesser option in gray, and these other guys are kind of GPP guys. In my notes over here to the right, you can pause the video and read them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through. I sort by K score, put the K score up top. Now I'm looking at DeGrom because he's got the highest strikeout potential on the slate. Will he end up with the most strikeouts on the slate? I don't know. If he pulls a hamstring in the third inning, no. But I don't know. I know that he, over the course of time, in these matchups, compared to all of the other matchups all of the other pitchers have on the slate, he should come out on top most of the time. There's going to be outlier performances, but most of the time he should be fine. So I'm sort of starting there. He's also got the lowest W score against, which is good. He doesn't have a very good bullpen backing him up, though, which is bad. He's expensive, which is bad. Not great Vegas odds, but not terrible. So it's kind of mediocre. But this is where we're starting at. Now we're going to drop down to J-Happ, and we're going to try and see if this $3,000-ish savings matters. $2,000, you know, $2,400, whatever. If it matters. Well, we get better Vegas odds, so that's good for Happ. We get a little lower K score, but it's not all that significant. So it's kind of a wash, which would mean I'd rather pay down in price, get a little bit higher W score. That's kind of bad. 40 points is kind of significant, or it feels kind of significant, right? So, okay, maybe DeGrom's better there. But then we look at the bullpen, and it's a way better bullpen. This is a bullpen ranking. 30 is horrible, 2 is great. J-Happ has a good bullpen backing him up. And he's facing a less intimidating offense in the Chicago White Sox. Good, little bit worse, not really significant, good, way good. I'm going to like the price. I'm going to like the price. So this can get me off of DeGrom into J-Happ, but I'm not saying DeGrom is bad. Come down here to John Gray. Let's see if this 1,300 is significant. Okay, we're not all that different here in Vegas. We're not all that different here in K-score. We're a little worse in W-score, a little worse bullpen. San Diego maybe has a little bit more power, blah, blah, blah. So again, if you need the money, it's okay. It's kind of a wash. It's not a huge discount in price. And you are in Coors Field. So there's danger there. John Gray's okay. But I might pay up for Happ to get a little bit of safety, go against Chicago White Sox, not in Coors, a little bit lower W score, a little bit higher K score, a little bit better Vegas odds. To me, that might be worth the $1,300 to try and pay up for Happ. That's why he's only slightly green. Flaherty's more expensive here. He's the underdog. It's a GPP score, or GPP type of play. He's got a lot of potential as a young pitcher. He's a little inconsistent. He's got a lot of potential. So would he be safer than Gray? I don't know. It's the whole Coors Field thing. Would he be safer than Happ? No. Safer than DeGrom? No. So as my cash game type pitchers, I'm here. Up if I'm paying up, I'm DeGrom. If I'm paying down, I'm probably Happ. In the middle is David Price, 9,800, right smack in the middle. So I'd better see stronger Vegas than Happ, which I do. I even see stronger than DeGrom. I better see stronger K-score than Happ, which I don't. Better W score, which it's the same. Better bullpen, which it's kind of the same. They're both top 10 bullpens. More intimidating offense, though. So I would probably save the $1,000 and just take J Happ. David Price then becomes a little bit more of a GPP pivot. However, if you were looking at DeGrom, that $400 is pretty insignificant, but you get stronger Vegas. K score's okay, $400. I would probably prefer it be higher than this, closer to this number. Definitely a higher W score is not good, but the bullpen's way better, so if he's in the lead, he may hold the lead. Texas and St. Louis are probably about the same as far as the intimidation factor. So, again, I wouldn't fault you for taking David Price. I would personally not, because I want the safety in DeGrom and Happ. And these other guys, don't really matter that much, to be honest with you. There's no way I'm foregoing DeGrom to take Matt Boyd or Clayton Kershaw. Their numbers are worse in a lot of key areas, and it's just not going to matter much. So why would I pay a little bit more for these guys down here to get a little bit less of a matchup than DeGrom? I wouldn't, unless I was being different in GPPs. And if I was being different in a GPP, I'd probably pay all the way down for a Flaherty, or somebody like that, or a David Price who's in a little bit better situation. This is how we're looking at the slate as a whole in these pitchers and it takes most of our time and research, but we're trying to get an idea where are we going to start, because this is the most consistent source of points you have in daily fantasy sports. You want a floor and you want upside to succeed, and that means you want a safe pitcher with a great matchup, and you get that today as far as the slate is concerned, in DeGrom and Happ, maybe a little bit in Gray or Price, and then you certainly could see outlier performances out of a Flaherty, out of a Kershaw, out of a whatever, that can end up doing what you want them to do, which is get low ownership and really knock a slate down. But on big slates, the problem with playing the ownership game, especially with pitchers, is if you take a Flaherty, for you to really get that advantage, at the very least, you need Gray to have a bad day, or Skaggs, because those people taking those guys have probably a similar construction to you. They can pay up in the bats and pay up in certain areas, but what they're doing, you need those pitchers to fail for your guy to be the winner. And you probably need these other guys to fail as well, because they're going to get the ownership. For you to get leverage off of a Flaherty, you're going to need the DeGrom and Happ owners to fail. And these guys are in safe enough matchups that it isn't likely. Could it happen? Sure. That's the GPP gamble. But will it happen most of the time? No. So you'd better get tremendous leverage on that play. Because if Flaherty goes out and posts 50 and DeGrom posts 60, it didn't much matter. It comes down to the bats, and bats are fluky and volatile. I don't usually play the leverage game with pitchers. I don't usually jerk around with pitchers. I pretty much just take them straight up. Give me the best matchups. I do want to pay down in price, but give me the best matchups and I'll just roll them out there. Where I take my risk is in the lower priced pitchers, like the Happs or maybe the Grays or whatever, or even the Flahertys. But they're generally speaking going to give me a safer floor in a matchup, and they're going to give me upside through the matchup to really have a good day. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for DeGrom and Happ 1 and 2 today. That's who I would be on. Close that out. Let's go back to the research station. Let's flip it on its head. But what we're going to do now that we've found a couple of good pitchers is we're going to find the bad pitchers. We take the DFSA grade here and we assort by ascending order. And when these guys flip over, we're going to see the really, really bad numbers come to the top. Anything under a 20 is suspect. We don't have that today. So we've got, these aren't good pitchers. These are the pitchers that we get to pick on. They're the worst that the slate offers. I'm going to look at a few things. I'm going to look at the grade, of course, and then mark down, say, these top 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, right? But I'm marking down their offenses. So I come over here and I write down Boston. And then I write down Arizona and New York. Colorado, Toronto, LA. Colorado, Toronto again, LA. Okay, these are the offenses I'm sort of starting on. I'm not going to rule out Dodgers, Tigers, Rangers, Orioles, Nationals, whatever, but I'm getting stronger pitching the further down this list I go, which means the less likely these teams are to have great days. So now that I scroll back over here, what else am I looking for? When it comes, I can look for the bad category. I might target a Strom or a Sampson. But really one thing I'm looking for these pitcher stats. I want to see fly balls and home runs and high whips and high walk rates and high Sierras. So if I started with Sierra, okay, these three guys right here have higher Sierras. But look, we can probably include Homer Bailey. So let's scroll back over. Homer Bailey's facing Detroit. So write down Detroit. Now we've got another offense we're watching, right? I'm going to come over here to, I've got some of the Sierras. I might not be as interested in Strom, the lower Sierra. This is just showing you what their ERA should be. So if their ERA is, a 3.0 and the Sierra is a 4.5, it tells you he's getting a little bit lucky. He should be pitching to a 4.5, but instead he's pitching to a 3.0, which means that he's going to wind up regressing soon, and that might be a target for you. That gives you a little bit extra confidence in this play. But I look at the home run potential, and I see some pink here, Sampson, Nova. Don't know how to pronounce, Gabriel's last name, so whatever. Down here, Homer Bailey again. So that would give Detroit a little check mark. Sampson a check mark, which was Boston. Nova a check mark, which was New York Yankees. Oh, Boston and New York at the top of the list. Now, Boston's been cold lately, but New York's been pretty hot. I might take them over Detroit, but I might use some Detroit for value. Now, look down here a little bit more. Under Strom, that's Toronto. Is that right? Scroll over and look. Is this Toronto? Sure is. Toronto's in another good spot today, and they finally came through last night. So maybe I'm down to 4 teams that have high Sierras, low DFSA grades, and high home runs per 9. Boston, New York, Toronto, Detroit. Maybe those are my favorite offenses tonight in the way I'm looking at things. Fly ball, go through the same thing. Walks, go through the same thing. Like, oh, here comes Fed with a bunch of walks. Not the higher home run number, but if he gives up a home run, he's probably got some guys on base. High Sierra, whatever. So that would be who? Arizona. Little check mark by them. I mean, there's just a million ways you can go through and start sorting these things out. Some guys dig into pitching profiles, and that team hits the changeup really well, and blah, blah, blah. I'm just looking at raw numbers, general numbers. Are you a good pitcher or a sucky pitcher? And if you're generally speaking a sucky pitcher, I don't care if this team can't hit your slider, you suck. You're going to give up runs somewhere, otherwise your numbers wouldn't suck. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be that complicated. So what I'm going to do, and I've targeted a few of these offenses, Boston, Arizona, New York, Toronto, Detroit, I'm going to come over here to the Trends Overview tab. And I'm going to sort by, or I'm going to look at, these are organized in the L7 WOBA category. So I'm going to start looking for who's hot. There's Arizona. They're number 3. I might put a 3 next to their name on my piece of paper. Minnesota, Mets, okay, you might look at them. There's Boston. So Boston's what, about number 6 or 7? So those are the top 2 teams in terms of, whoa, there's LA. LA made our list. They're number 7. They only got 1 check mark, though. Kansas City, Chicago, all the way down here to New York. New York's a 187 for L7 WOBA. I'm not buying. Not buying. I might double check that with Fangraphs later. Sorry, not buying. So I look at the L7 WOBA column here, and I see Aaron Hicks is decent. Brent Gardner's okay. These guys not so much. There's not a lot to like down here. Maybe Didi Gregorius is getting off to a hot start again, whatever. But I'm going to like the Yankees today, I think. But I would look at, say, a Boston, and I would say, who am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for probably Benintendi. JD Martinez if he's not hurt. I don't think has he been playing lately? You'd have to tell me. I haven't used Boston for a couple of weeks because of the slates I've been on and the different things, so I haven't looked at their numbers lately. Jackie Bradley's cooled back off. He was hot a week or so ago when I was using him. Hernandez probably doesn't play. Mookie Betts is heating up, 300 up to a 370 in WOBA. That's a sign that over 2 weeks he was a 300. Over 1 week he's a 370. It's a sign he's getting hotter, so fine. I'll consider him. But this is how I'm going to go through and pick my bats. And if I wanted to, I can go through the Trends tab itself, take out the 2-day games, and I can sort here by the L7 WOBA. I should get the same numbers as the other page. And if I go clicking on Arizona, then I'm going to find that if Avila starts, I should have him. Carson Kelly, fine. Kittle Marte, Kevin Cron, Peralta, Walker. These guys are getting a little low. Probably wouldn't go below about 380 in Peralta. So these would be the 5 guys I would try to put in my lineups as much as possible. I would avoid these other guys unless I was stacking and needed that fourth bat for value, for cheap. But they're already pretty cheap. I shouldn't have a real issue with these guys, right? I would look at Boston. I would do the same thing. Benintendi, Betts, Bradley. Bradley's a little bit lower down here. So, yeah, maybe Boston has been a little bit cold. Look at New York, do the same thing. Gardner, Hicks, Voit. These guys are all probably in play. These would be some of the stacks I'd be looking at. Toronto had a good night last night. Maybe some of their numbers jumped. Sogard's still up there at the top, though. And nope, these numbers didn't jump, so this isn't current. This isn't updated. They had a good enough night. Some of these numbers should have shuffled around. Some of these guys should have come up closer to 3 and 400, 350, 400. So that said, you're going to have to cross-check this with like a Fangraphs.com. But that's how I typically go through and decide who I want to play. I'm going to look at my pitchers. Am I going to center a lineup on Boston? Then I'm going to go into Boston and pick their hot bats. Maybe I don't like Boston. Maybe my second lineup of the day, I'm going to use, J Happ, and then I'm going to target Arizona. Then I would go into Arizona, look at who's hot there, and I would center my stack, my first stack, 3 or 4 bats around that team. Plug them in, bing, 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 bing. Then I would look at my average salary. Let's go ahead and do one. What the hell? Let's go ahead and do one. Do a little free contest. Isn't going to hurt anybody. Sort by entry fee. I'll show you how quickly this goes. When you've kind of already got these things in your head, I like DeGrom and I like Happ. Now, typically when I'm building my first lineup of the day, I'm going to go into Jacob DeGrom and take the expensive pitcher on purpose and then try and fit value around him. But in effort to show you what I'm trying to do with building around stacks, let's drop all the way down to J Happ. 8,800 should be plenty. Let's go. Let's say I liked Yankees. Then I'm going to run down the Yankees list, and I'm going to see I saw Voit, remember? LeMahieu leading off, Hicks, Torres, Clint Frazier, Didi Gregorius was hot, right? Brett Gardner was hot, right? So there's 3 of my bats right there. And then I could come in here and I find a Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, maybe Aaron Hicks. Somebody like this. Aaron Hicks projected at 2. LeMahieu projected at 1. Let's use LeMahieu. I might check his game log if I'm debating between a couple of players and I see that it's not spectacular. So let's make the decision between him and Aaron Hicks in the 2-hole and see that's a better game log. So we're going to take Aaron Hicks, put him in, take LeMahieu out. And I know I'm not going to be able to do it with J Happ as my pitcher because it's a 4-stack, and on Fanduel you can't do that with your pitcher. But I'm just showing you this is what I would be doing. 4-stack. And now, who's my secondary teams? Arizona, Boston, Toronto. Let's go looking at Toronto. These guys are pretty darn cheap. So at $29.50, I need to be looking at guys that are probably underneath that. So probably wouldn't use a Smoke yet. Vladimir Guerrero yet. Gurriel's been hot. Nunez, Grichuk can hit 2 dongs out at any given time. And maybe I stop at 2 there. And I've got 3,000 left. In this case, maybe I just go all the way around. What do I need? Second base and third base? Second base. Let's get under 3,000 and work our way up. Addison Russell, Hechavarria, Rafigno, Nicky Lopez, Ronnie Rodriguez, Alberto. He's not leading off. Biggio in Toronto if I wanted another Toronto bat. Brian Dozier's been good lately. Boom. Washington might be in a decent spot to stack. These are just one-offs. These don't matter as much. Now I got 3,300. Cuthbert's got power. Lestea's got power. Cabrera, Carpenter, Justin Turner in LA. Boom. There's your lineup. Is it great? No, I don't know. I'm going to tweak it throughout the day. But that's how I'm typically going to build these lineups, is I'm going to start with one key stack. If I started again with DeGrom and wanted to go to Arizona, I know we're going to want Ketel Marte. He was running hot. Where are those catchers? Down there in the bottom. Jared Dyson leading off. Christian Walker has power. Brian Dozier again. Ahmed wasn't bad. Where's the catch? Let's say Avila. Who's supposed to get Carson Kelly getting the start? Boom. So now I've got me a 5, 7, 8 stack in Arizona with some value. Now I'm at 3,100 for the remaining spots. Now I can play with this. I've got some flexibility to play with this. If I wanted to go into Boston, and we said Jackie Bradley had cooled off, but you got a little Brock Holtz and Vasquez. As we scroll up the list here, it's going to get expensive. Chavis wasn't on that list. Not a lot of hot stuff. Benintendi was on there. Maybe we use him as a one-off. That drops that down a little bit. Devers, J.D. Martinez, Bogarts, Betts was getting hot. You could even probably work a lineup around, You could even probably work a lineup around getting bets in there. Maybe not with Benintendi, so we'll pull him out, and now we've really got to scrimp and scrape. So if I was that sold on bets as my one-off, then what would I do? I would come down here to my catcher, my first baseman, which I've already got a catcher, first baseman. Let's start with outfield. Outfield's always a place you can find depth. Come all the way down here to the bottom of the list. And I'm looking for guys in the projected lineups that are maybe going to do okay. And if you really wanted to, you can come back in here to the research station, come back over here to the batting matchups or to the trends tab. Let's use the trends tab. I'm going to click off of Toronto. Toronto's where those cheap bats are going to go, actually. They're in a good spot, and we know it. L7 Woba, outfield. What if I came over here and just filtered out by the salary? What was the salary I needed? Under 2,900? So if I need it to be under about 2,900, I'll make it under 3,000. Whoops, need to sort by L7 Woba. Ah, dang it. What did I just do? L7 Woba, descending order. I needed to use the filter. Number filters less than 3,000, right? That'll show me all my 2,900s and below. Who are the hottest ones? Well, Jacoby Jones, 534 Woba. Tilson may start. Heredia, Dominic Smith. So let's go grab Jacoby Jones. Where's Jacoby Jones? Projecting in the 90. Led off last night, but there's a good bat, right? Let's dive into Toronto. Let's find those other outfielders in Toronto. Gurriel, Grichuk, right? These are fine one-offs. And now we're starting to get this back up where we can play with it. It's second and third base again. So if I go second base, who's the cheapest second baseman that I could afford to live with? Rendon, Russell, Hechavarria, Rafigno, Nicky Lopez, Ryan Rodriguez, Anderson, Brock Holt. Give me a little Boston, right? It completes a stack. It starts to work on the mini stack. Granted, 1 and 6 is not great unless you can bridge that gap. So that's not necessarily good. Maybe we stick with Toronto since we've got a couple of Toronto bats. Grichuk at the 5. That's better correlated. There's less of a gap in between those guys. And this third base can come from anywhere. $3,500 because we bought him up. Yandy Diaz, you want to lead off? You want power and Cuthbert? You want power and Lastea? A little bit of power. Matt Carpenter, Justin Turner again. Lastea. Let's do Cuthbert. Take a Kansas City guy. I mean, you might look at his game log again, and let's see where he's been. Look at this ascending. Maybe he's getting hot. I don't know. I'm just saying. Randomly throwing these together. Can he win you a GPP with an 18, 25, 21, and 18? Yes. Is he going to get you a 0? Doesn't look like he's going to get you a 0. Looks like he's going to at least get on base or do something, right? Might be great, might be weak, but he's not going to get you a 0 most likely. So he's fine. There's another lineup. This is how you do these things, and that's with DeGrom. This is how you build these lineups, and you take 2 or 3 or 4 shots at these things every day, and then you come in here and you track your results, and then you start putting your contests where they should be, putting your lineups in these contests where they should be, and I can show you how to build all that stuff. So again, come inside DFSArmy.com, use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, for that 20% off discount. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if this is the type of content you like seeing. Share me out on social media. I know the videos are 20 and 30 minutes long, but it's a lot to cover, and I'm just trying to show you that we can make you a better player in every single sport that you play, from NASCAR to PGA to MLB. It doesn't matter. NFL's around the corner. Content's coming for that too. We win every single day at DFSArmy.com. Come in and join us. Take care, guys.